thank you for taking the time to do the talk and to celebrate 1 year with us. So cheers. And as well, you made it all the way to Miami. You're all the way from Chicago, so welcome.
Hell yeah. Dog, I love it down here. About to get married to Miami and shit.
So yeah, so we're gonna we're gonna talk with you about your career, your coming up, in graffiti through Chicago. And so what I want to do is kind of, as I often do, I'm sorry, I'm just typing in your pinning you right here. So as I normally do, I'll read a bit about a bio of you, and so we'll take it from there, okay?
Oh yeah.
Let me just adjust myself here so that we are good. Turn this light off and let people know who you are. Our guest artist is ZEB, a transdisciplinary lens-based artist critically focusing on the political and artistic intersection that graffiti writing transgresses. In 2019, ZEB traveled to over 10 major US cities where he created performances of illegal graffiti writing, documented and shared the processes on social media, where he found that graffiti is often welcomed once you pretend or perform like you have permission. ZEB developed this critical focus on graffiti in the photography department at the School of Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, under a merit scholarship, which allowed him to focus on the performative qualities of graffiti and conduct extensive research in the Visual Critical Studies department, utilizing autoethnographic strategies to write his thesis on the oppositional nature of graffiti. That is a mouthful, and it's a lot of information to really kind of dive into, right? And so what I would like to start with this conversation with you is really at, when we talk about the transgressional nature of graffiti, this conversation really starts in your youth. Now, earlier we were talking about your youth in Chicago and the early history of graffiti, and you were indoctrinated very, very young. So why don't you share about your story about your indoctrination into the writing culture?
Yeah, thank you again for your time and your interest in, working with me, and of course the museum's interest in hearing from Chicago in general. Yeah, the question of the indoctrination at the early age, it's funny because I would love to ask you that question. Like, I got to see you on the big screen when I was a young person, right? My VHS copy going into the VCR, gluing my face against the TV to learn about style writing on, Style Wars film. And hearing you like define your name in that film and saying, nah, it's not Mar, it's Mare. Mar would be M-A-R. Like, I love that energy of having a name and believing in it and fucking speaking up for it and having that work behind your name that speaks for itself. And yeah, so again, I would love to sit and talk to you about how the hell you got into it. What was a young person thinking? And for me, but I would like to, and you asked me the question, so I will really quickly, the young age, dude, like the south side of Chicago was not fun. You had to be either banging or just totally square and stay in the crib.
Zeb, give me a year. Can you give me a year as to when this is all beginning for you?
The year 2000. In the year 2000. I like Conan O'Brien, but, and he has an interesting podcast right now. And I like this whole idea of podcasts in general, this whole idea of sharing. But
so when we talk about the trans, as a kid figuring this out, like who put you on? Who was around you? Because if you started in 2000, As we were speaking with Zor today, you know, he was expressing an even older generation and what they were doing in the early 80s leading up to, you know, the kind of peer-to-peer tutelage that graffiti culture inherently has. They find you at as a young boy. So tell us about that. Tell us about how you came into this.
Right. So again, it's this South Side energy that was going on where I wanted to be a banger. You know, I was gonna be a gangbanger. Like those who the people I see when I walk down the street to go to school. And then when I get to school, you little homies are like acting like GDs, acting like BDs when they're not even gangbangers yet. But that's what was cool because you had Eminem on the, you know, Up in Smoke tour, and you had fucking like every day, blah blah blah, right? And then after that came the drill music, but that drill music was created from the lifestyle of these guys when they were young, like me. I was living down the street from O Block, you know what I'm saying? And it's like that's where Chief Keef is from. That's where, you know, King Von is from. And this whole energy was like pretty much an option. But for some reason, God, whatever you want to call it, fucking, I, I followed my sister and watched her in the hip hop club of her high school and was able to get connected with an organization called the University of Hip Hop. And
And
it was a
who was running?
non-physical university.
Whose idea was that to create that institution or the concept?
Yeah, so this is like a community action between the Spray Brigade family of Zor and Raven and Isela and Hector and all of these amazing efforts of, you know, these great minds of Black and brown people who wanted to something known as like sidewalk scholars, right? This whole street knowledge, this whole make something out of nothing. And because they were a non-physical space, they were able to work in different schools and different community centers. And this is a repeated thing you'll find in Chicago, which is the spaces of knowledge are not just going to be in an actual school. You're going to see it in the after-school program. You're going to see it in the park district. You're going to see it in the community center. And what is the it? It's these spaces for learning how to break dance, these spaces to learn how to rap, these spaces to learn how to make music, and practice it. And so there was places like the Connect Force space inside of Alternatives Incorporated, which got completely kicked out on their 10-year anniversary because state funding laws. And then look at what happened. Dude, I could almost like give you the days of when organizations have been cut out and you could watch the crime rate go up. So we're talking about data visualization and analyzation of, oh, now there's no space for kids to hang out and work on shit. Now they fucking are shooting more. I wonder why. So again, I was really blessed into going in these offset education systems that were not provided for me in public school. And like, even like I said, it was at a high school, but again, you know, we were just blessed that that one high school had these fellas who were willing to give to their students at this level. So again, it's Raven, it's the FB crew, making the University of Hip Hop. Now, just because I get into that crew, just because I get into working with them, doesn't mean you stop expanding at that point. And again, I start to meet some of the underground people, some of the people who don't just do the murals on Sunday morning. And I was getting a paycheck, by the way, to be working there as an 11-year-old, teaching other kids how to do graffiti, who were also 11 years old.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If at 11 years old you're good enough to teach, who was your teacher? Who was your mentor?
Good enough to teach. That was the joke. That was the what we call Jedi mind tricks. I was actually learning, but I was willing. I was willing to be at that parking lot and be picked up by Raven and ride with him to that elementary school and sit there and hand out the markers, hand out the pilots, teach how to make a marker, teach how to make an outline, and, you know, sit there and explain what you're watching when you're watching this film called Style Wars. Just being a teacher assistant. So this idea of flipping the pedagogy on teachers teaching students to a student helping a student learn while the student himself is learning. Because what is learning? Love for somebody in the space to tell us what learning is, because I still don't know what learning is. And so I really would like to focus all of our conversation on the idea of education today, because it was education that brought me into this shit. And I rock
Yeah,
this shit.
but I'll add this to it, because it is the kind of peer-to-peer tutelage that you're getting, but also you're in the school of hard knocks, right? Because it's not because it's not regimented in the same way a formal school is. Out there on the streets, the rules are different, right? And so as you are kind of getting your education from the street and also from people who come from the street, what are you encountering as you start growing up and, you know, decide, well, you know what, I'm going to commit to graffiti, I'm going to become a bomber. Now you've chosen this identity, this alias that is responding to a broken city and a broken community, a broken education system. Why did you decide, well, or at what point did you decide, well, I'm just gonna like go all out and be king?
Yeah, no, it was definitely these early being accepted by adults and being wanted, man. Let's get soft with it, bro. Everyone needs someone, you know? I mean, everyone wants to feel like they matter. And if you have an instructor, if you have a mentor, yeah, cringe. We should all be cringing. You should be fucking cringing. We should all be cringing right now. You know why? Because this is all cringy knowledge. This is cringy to think about the fact that we had to make a museum. The fact that, you know, but let me go back. Everyone wants somebody. So, you know, everyone wants to be loved. And I got a lot of love from this culture. And the moment I started to understand that these people are down for me, I wanted to give back tenfold. I wanted to give to them and let them know thank you. Thank you for bringing me forward. We'll skip this one. You know,
The question
one
is
we can
then,
stay.
let me just kind of stop you there for a second, because if you're searching for that love, and this is a question I've asked and I get asked, like, why choose criminality, right? Artistic criminality. Why choose to get that attention? As why not arrive, obviously in hindsight it's 2020, to arrive and say, hey, I'm going to be a studio artist, but you were being mentored, and next thing you know, that's fine, but there's something else that was motivating you to become a bomber.
Right. There's a fantastic thinker inside of Chicago named Kane. He's a graffiti writer as well. But he did a master's at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, where I studied, but I didn't do master's yet. I did bachelor there. Also wrote a thesis there, where I copied a portion of his thesis into my thesis. You know, I referenced him, but he was referencing my work. And how he was referencing my work was like using the New York City, you know, shit, to talk about why would this kid who has like scholarship to go to the Art Institute of Chicago. This is a little later in my life. You're asking in the beginning, but it's kind of the same question he was asking in his thesis. His question, because he was working on graffiti education in his thesis, and specifically education in graffiti, not, yeah. But anyway, so he was asking, why would this kid, it was more of a thought experiment, it seemed like, why would this kid who has like supposedly, you know, money to go to art school, he should have creative outlets, still beyond that, go and travel to New York City and paint on subway trains illegally and fucking fly back home. And so, you know, these questions I was able to, like, you know, bring back into my thesis and reflect on. And the question really is like, why do we do what we do? And like, we were at the film screening last night, and that was the entire question of that film. Why did those Miami writers write? And yeah, no, it's a mystical question. Why do we do this? You know, as some players in my crew, they tell me, you know, you got to have a screw loose. If you're here that serious, if we're at 3 a.m. planning fucking 17 colors and 30 cans and 5 ladders and bolt cutters and keys and fucking all this insanity, you got to have a couple screws loose. And what is that screw loose concept, right? Like genius is insanity. What is this? Genius. I don't like that term. Genius seems like to me etymologically relating to genealogy, and genealogy, you know, I think the issue with genealogy is that it claims a purism, when reality is everything is in the gene pool and we're all beautiful and we're all working really hard. I don't like this idea of best and worst. I think that what you do is important. So bringing it into, let's rewind.
Well, part of it is, again, there's a fine line in your story between criminality and academia, right? Your critical thinking. Obviously, you're a smart guy who has had a lot to think about and write about this culture. And of course, there's the output, right? Because you got up, you like style writing. You're focused on style writing, but you're also focused on contemporary art, and also you have studied art. And so with that, there are the challenges, right, of critiquing a culture against history, which you've probably done plenty of. And so as we talk about this, and I'm really interested in your kind of trajectory when you're going from criminality to academia, right, to self-realization. And I'm really curious about that because there are a lot of intersections for us to play with in that. So part of that is what's driving you in terms as a young man to say, wait a minute, maybe I'm a little bit more thoughtful than I thought about this. That helped you get to your thesis, right? Let's build on that concept.
Yeah. I don't know what makes me think I was thoughtful. I'm glad I did, though. I'm super glad that I started to believe in myself. I could give you moments of, whoa, that's different. But I don't know about the mystical question of why I started to believe in strange abstracting of my performance. Because we're all just performing, I highly believe. The way you perform with me is what you will believe in. Like, if you're respectful to me, then you're a respectful person. If you like perform like in this way that's like you don't like me, then I know you know, I think everything in reality is like, you know, a bit of a performance. Like you gotta do this shit. And so yeah, you know, I'll tell you right now, Barbara DeGenevieve at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, like, was the chair of the photo department, and she believed in my work. She made pornography. God rest her soul. She made pornography. She believed in the dynamics of the lens, and that's why I call myself a lens-based media, because I believe the eyeball, and again, respect to anyone who does not have vision, respect to all abilities. But I, you know, work in visual arts, so I deal with the visual. And I believe the first lens is your eyeball. And I was in the photography department. So, of course, we were playing with different lenses. And then what's right behind the lens on a camera? The film, right? And what do you use to go into the film? Light. To go into the lens. So you use light to go into the lens and make an imprint on this film. And so I was looking at the philosophical natures of the creation of a photo, the creation of an image. And it's reverse and upside down. If you don't know this history about, you know, photography, it comes in reverse and upside down. And so of course I was thinking about, hey, what if my eyeball is a lens and there's film in the back, which is my brain, inside of this camera of a head. And so I started to think that when I'm thinking, I'm focusing, right? So these are concepts that are really simple. Of course, like you have to break it down all like crazy, but it's actually a simple concept that I focus on shit. That's what it really breaks down to. But if I just started that, then I wouldn't sound like I'm making any sense. That's the funniest thing about knowledge, is that the most simple it is, like the goal. But if you say it's simple, then you're losing out on all of this context and all of this knowledge that actually is inside of us and through our practice, through our process, through our life, through our lived experience. And so that's why we talk, and that's why we want to hear
And so
more.
all that said, you know, is that what really underscores and drives the act of graffiti, of getting up, of getting notoriety, of putting yourself out in the public in the way that you do?
So recently, like I said, so Barbara DeGenevieve believed it, and you know, this is right when I got into the art institute. She believed in this performative nature of graffiti. She's like, you put on masks, and this is before I did performances in my graffiti. She's like looking at my hardcore videos I was bringing to my critiques. You know, I didn't want to do my homework, so I just filmed myself at night in the yard. film my photos in fucking New York City that I just flew back home from, that they ended up extraditing me for and shit. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But let's get it off the screen. That's a good one. And then yeah.
But there's something to be said about it. Look, there's two things. There's the performance, right? But there's really the conscious act of breaking the law and getting away with it, right? Or not getting away with it. And, you know, one of the things that's very interesting in your story is the question of legality and the question also of ownership of public space, right? Because in Chicago, it's a really contentious city in that, and how it's divided, right?
Yeah.
The wealth, the hood, right, and the segregation. And so how, in your work, because you're putting so much in public, you were discussing to me the legalities and illegality associated with it, in that, yes, you did get caught and it was very public, but it was a really unique case. Can we discuss some of that?
Yeah, no, let's get into the public. And Hector is here, who is a part of the University of Hip Hop. Thank you for joining us. Great question right there, and it's exactly what you're talking about, Mayor. What is the public? Let me go into, again, some more deep, trippy School of the Art Institute knowledge. Drea Hauenstein, phenomenal instructor who just retired, is working with very, very abstract concepts of the creator in space. And so I took a class with her called SIGHT, which is site specificity. SITE, not SIGHT, like the vision we've been talking about. So we're talking about sight, where the hell shit happens, and performance, and or installation, or activation, or activism, or you know, doing these sculptural activations. And what was exciting about her class is, in there with my past partner Sue, who's a hardcore writer from South Korea, we made the Museum of Graffiti on the south side of Chicago. And what was the Museum of Graffiti on the south side of Chicago? The Museum of Graffiti was a vacant lot that we just illegally started gardening at with a $3,000 grant that I wrote to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and got an idea generation grant. And so that $3,000 I just gave directly to Ken Dunn, this phenomenal, honestly, art anarchist, you know, thinker from the University of Chicago, who is on the south side of Chicago and has this big ass space that is a whole bunch of resource center. It's called the Resource Center. So he collects resources. Whatever you got, he'll take. And so he gave me the soil to make this garden on the south side of Chicago that we called the Museum of Graffiti. And then was eventually, you know, we had funding concepts. We had proposals to make it a big ass space where we would put actual CTA trains. We wanted to put trains in there that we would teach people how easy it is to clean trains. And then we would constantly repaint those trains and like have educational environments and fucking, and you know, a job producer on the south side of Chicago where I grew up. Of course, I was met with opposition when I brought it to the local government. Oh, we don't need a graffiti museum. We need a job producer, they said. We would like a Starbucks. We would like a Dunkin' Donuts there. And I was just like, and then on top of it, they double booked my meeting. I fucking walked out of there in tears when they were fucking telling me, be a man. It's like, fuck you. You want me to be a man? I could go pick up a gun, be GD, be a BD. I got niggas I could fucking, who will jump me in, whatever the fuck. I don't give a fuck what it takes to be a gangbanger. I could have done that. But no, I'm over here fucking trying to like put money into your fucking community. I'm trying to fucking make opportunities, and you're trying to tell me be a man? Like, so the Museum of Graffiti, I think, is to talk about space and to talk about why we need to fill this space with what we fill it with. And, you know, we were filling a vacant lot. How much more simple does that get? I'm fucking filling a vacant lot with teaching people how to grow their own potatoes, how to grow their own tomatoes, how to grow fucking herbs, learn about herbs, learn how to paint. And that was just what we were able to do with $3,000 and Ken Dunn bringing some garden beds and us painting the wall legally. And that wall, we did a mural that said love. And the day that that mural got buffed was the day before our fucking meeting with the local alderman. And it was just like, it was that after that where you will be crushed. Just so you guys know, you will be crushed in your pursuit of your art career. Be ready to be crushed, you know?
But is that, so then your response, then your response was, well, if that's the case, well, I'm going to go back to the roots. I'm going to take it back to the streets illegally.
I do that many times. I give up my fucking pursuit of love, of art, and higher thinking and caring about everybody. I do that all the time. And you know what? Graffiti is a great landing point for it. You could just say, fuck you, I don't care about anything, and just go out and write on some shit. And then you become something just from saying I'm done.
Right, but if you do that, let me ask you something. Again, you're both, see, here's where the conundrum lies, right? Is that you're a socially minded person, you're empathetic to communities, but yet you're a bomber and you get up a lot in many cities and everywhere, and you caught heat for that, right? And that brings up a very, very interesting kind of psychoanalysis, right? That, you know, you try to do good, you meet opposition, right? And that opposition enrages you, so you act out on society, so to speak, right? Or you place yourself in society to make a point. But there's a consequence, right? One of the things we know for our actions, there are consequences. And you manage to catch, you know, the attention of authorities in several states. And there was this, you mentioned the crazy wrangling that goes on with the political system and the justice system, right? Because there are two things that you've mentioned that are very interesting to me, right? The opposition to sustainability, right? Which is in the you know, in the line of righteousness. But then there's the other part, right? Where you as a writer impose yourself on cities around the nation. And you catch a very public case for that. So I want to know a little bit more about that, about how it almost seems like you had no choice but to be seen and heard. And so but that got you in trouble. So I want to know, we discussed this a little bit earlier, and it's a fascinating story about the political system and how you were dragged through the courts.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an odyssey, guys. I'm not gonna fucking explain.
Yeah, give us the elevator pitch on that, because there's a lot to go through with your work.
I was a young person who found out about this thing called subway painting, and it was from New York. And so what do? You go to the mecca of where it's from if you really love that thing. And when you get there, you find out if you can do the love that you're after. And if you can, and not only if I can, I was brought there by really legendary Chicago graffiti writers. You know, the KYM crew. I don't want to implicate him right now. I mean, the shit is the past. Temper, man. Fucking rock with Temper 1, yo. That motherfucker is dope. That motherfucker took me to New York City to paint my first subway trains. You know, you want to get on some real shit. And also, like, you know, like, I wish I could sit here and tell you guys about the long history of Chicago graffiti, you know, and just knowing that Chicago has a heart for the trains. And what I mean by that is we are transit writers, and the transit writer in Chicago is not just a train painter. It means that you get up off the rooftops along the train, you get up on the train line on the train, you get up underneath the train tracks, you get up underneath the train seat inside of the train, you use the bus, you fuck up the bus, you write on the sides of the buses. So many high schools had big, you know, bus stations in front of the school, and it's a crowd of kids, and there was no cell phones in the 90s, and these motherfuckers would run up, FOC crew, JMC crew, fucking, you know, FYM, you know, these Northside crews, and right before I started writing, and like, you know, just destroy these buses. We're talking IoT crew back in the fucking early 90s, you know, and it's like we really cared about this whole nature of movement, you know, and that's how you got around the city, you know. Oh, I saw him there, I saw them. You go ride the train just to fucking see shit up off the rooftops. And one quick little caveat about the window on the train. It's so funny that today nobody even looks out the window on the train. In fact, ironically, the train has been reconstructed where the seats now face each other, and they used to face, like, you know, in the direction of where you're driving, so you could look out the window easier. But now you can't even look out the window unless you're standing or like totally, you know, turning your head around. So on top of that, with the media that we're using, I see kids, or I think about it, that motherfuckers wouldn't even look out the window to see what's up off the train lines like we used to, and they just like are on the train like looking at their phone as the new window. You know what I'm saying? Let alone when they're at the crib. So that's AIDA. That was a commission at the ECU University. They great people, had a good art department, great liberal arts department, who welcomed me and, you know, helped me make that big ass Z. Basically, I knew somebody who liked my work, and they're from a very small town in Oklahoma, and said, hey, I'm gonna reach out to this university and see if they got a wall for you. Not only do they have a wall, they have this like fucking gigantic wall. Like this photo really doesn't show how big it is. Like,
So let me ask you something. Now that, you know, if okay, you're moving on beyond the criminality, and you know, you beat your case, so you get through your case, and you decide, look, I want to be you want to pursue fine art, right? You go to school for fine art, and you realize you really stick to understanding the importance and value of letter writing. And what seems apparent to me in these large murals is that you're thinking top to bottom. You're making these big, impressive letter forms, like full scale in you know, in the community. And it seems to me that it is, that this in itself is kind of, again, a all out confrontation, or like a conflict with the public space, right? This is not you being a street artist and doing your mural work. This is like straight bombing.
yeah, straight bombing. Again, this goes back to my early indoctrination into the culture of Jedi mind tricks, which was created by Raven and Zor, you know, which is show up to the wall with a ladder and a bunch of youth. And when the cops come by, they're going to give you a thumbs up, even though we're breaking the law right in their face. And me being taught that right by a fucking, you know, an elder who is an educator, you know, an educator, what are the connotations? I'd love to give a class on connotations, denotations. That's called semiotics. Connotations means the things that you think about when you see it. And then denotations are the thing itself. For example, the denotation of this is a glass cup with champagne in it. The connotations of this is fucking, man, I hope he doesn't drop that because it looks breakable, or man, he drinks so much. Those are connotations.
Right.
And then
And so what do you think
is the thing itself. So
what is this what is this supposed to connote, though?
Yeah,
This is what I want to know.
We know the thing itself is spray paint on a wall with letters and shapes. But what
is it just that? Let me pause for a second. Is it just that, or is it the deeper part of the things that you think about, right? Your association of identity, of even perhaps the mortality, right? Of like staying up. I mean, I never believe that it's always just a mark on the wall. I think it's you investing a part of your spirit, your soul, and a legacy, an extended legacy, so to speak.
Yeah, you know, it would be nice to believe that this universe matters and that it's not just going to get blown up by Trump. It would be really nice to believe that there's going to be a museum that actually will survive. It would be nice to believe that. And if so, yeah, I am doing this for the future kids. I'm doing this for people to believe.
Tell me about like where you are now with your work. What kind of work are you producing now and professionally kind of gravitating towards?
Mm-hmm. I have a 9 to 5 job. Don't feel like sharing that right now, but
No, that's cool.
um, yeah, I
I
have
mean,
a
but
nine to five job, and
do
then
you
and
have
then
the lofty? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to
no,
ask
no,
if you have the lofty ambitions to be a gallery artist.
yeah, no, they're in there, and so okay. Your questions about the work I make, and so obviously go to my Instagram, Worldwide Zab, guys. Go to my OnlyFans and pay me at night too. Um, I'll strip for you. I'm kidding. Um, fucking, go to my Instagram and follow that shit because that shit is what's going on. And what's going on in that work is me trying to uh basically deconstruct this hardcore image of graffiti, even though it is hardcore, but just deconstruct it first, just to see what's there. And one of the things is the machoism, the this whole macho energy of graffiti is like, I'm supposed to be a tough boy. Ooh, I'm so hardcore because I wrote on something. Males are the only way. Fucking patriarchal worship me shit. And I'm like, nah, I'm not into that. I'm actually into like waking up in the morning and fucking picking my colors like a fucking Crayola box and
Yes, but Zeb,
being
let me
free.
interject for a
Being free.
second. Zeb, let me interject for a second, man, because when you're painting this big and this confidently, uh, there is clearly the motivation is obvious that you want to have your art up, but also it does feed into the ego, right? There is something to be said about the healthy ego that writers have, or else they wouldn't be doing what they do. And to me, given your stature, and then this goes also for other writers that do, they kind of overcompensate by doing top to bottom pieces. That there is something also in that that speaks to the id, right? The ego that's kind of forward facing to the graffiti community. So I tend to believe that there's more to it than you're expressing.
Yeah, you fucking watch an interview of fucking Andy Warhol and he's like, no, yes, yes, no to every question. And it's like, I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm actually trying. I am trying. And I just think that life is mystical. Yep, that's a good one, guys. Skip. Um and then fucking I think life is mystical. Yeah, let's get into that a little bit for a second after this. But I think life is mystical, and you're not going to be able to get every answer out of somebody, but you can have great dialogues. And I am not, I'm not trying to shy even deeper away by talking about Andy Warhol, but um, the truth is that you are bringing meaning to me. The truth is, as an artist, the artist doesn't know what the fuck is going on. I saw somebody post like he's lost. Yeah, I'm fucking lost, guys. I don't even know where I am. I know I'm in a fancy ass building right now.
Yeah, you may be lost, but you know where you want your work to be and live, and that's really important in the conversation, right? As to that what motivates that, what inspires that, and where do you go from with the idea of putting your messages like this one, Black Lives Matter, right? This was inspired by a social movement, right? And so there's a response, a community response. Tell me about doing this piece and what community this was in Chicago. And was this with permission?
Yeah, that's like in one of the most popping neighborhoods of Chicago. It's kind of like a Lower East Side, Williamsburg feel. And no, I just showed up in the middle of the fucking day, put my phone on live stream, and just fucking did it. Like fuck the police until the world blows. Like in the end, like those motherfuckers need to be defunded and retrained immediately because they are from an old system of slave owning. The entire police system was created as, like, I just heard Kanye West's mom on a song saying fucking overseer, the overseer of the slaves. is the overseer.
Yeah,
Is the
and
overseer. The overseer.
KRS
Officer
infamously,
is the officer. And so
yes.
an overseer is an officer. And so the officer is the one who watches the slaves. And so the police are actually enslaving us. And so, look, I know that there's the argument of who you gonna call when somebody's fucking shooting you or something and breaking into your home. Well, how about we just don't have a world like that?
Well,
How
let's
about
do this. Let
how
me ask
about
you this.
you teach the kid graffiti when he's young and he won't be robbing your house? And how about we teach the police better? Like, I saw a great meme, protect your daughter, and it lines that out. It says, how about you protect your fucking son? I mean, teach your fucking son. Educate your son. We
Let
shouldn't
me
be
ask.
protecting our daughters. We should be educating motherfuckers not to be doing the shit that those sons would be doing to those women. And that's the
Yeah,
same conversation with the police. We need to educate the whole world. The whole world needs to educate. Is graffiti bad? Yes, because it ruins my property. First of all, who fucking gave you rights to fucking be on this land? Second of all, your fucking money that bought that fucking land was most likely given to you from fucking land owning slave owners. Believe it or not, look at your fucking family tree. I bet that shit has motherfucking slave owners in that shit all the way
yeah.
down if you guys have always been in the money land. And if you have not always been in the money land, you worked hard. And look at your company that gave you your money. I bet they were in the slave owning business. All of the money comes from kings and queens. And kings and queens had slaves. And
But
so
let me
is that property is
Zeb,
bullshit.
excuse me, Zeb. But Zeb, let me direct this a little bit more pointedly to if granted, that's a really big conversation, socio-political conversation. But for us, when we think about Chicago and Chicago policing, right? Because you're in the heart of this, right? And there's a lot of social injustice that happens in big cities like New York and Chicago. And of course, Chicago has a very high crime rate. Does the work that you do when you go into these areas that are high crime rate and you try to do educational outreach or these public murals, does that is that it's a bit of a band-aid, but are you effective? Is that effective in your role as an artist and an advocate for the community?
Phenomenal question. I was at the Art Institute giving there was these things called the Intersectionality Critique Exchange, ICE. And intersectionality, let's give some kudos, comes from Black feminists. Anyway, fucking the history of intersectionality. Anyway, fucking at these are great opportunities for art students to give practice presentations to professionals in the art world. So I've done 2 to 3 of them, and one of them was to Theaster Gates. Fucking another one was to this guy from the Black Panthers, who is a little drunk right now, guys. But look, he was a phenomenal. Emory Douglas was his name. Emory Douglas was the illustrator for the Black Panther newspaper. So I had a chance to have him critique my work when I was in art school, and I showed him a ton of wait, this tag. Anyway, oh yeah, so we're still live. All right, cool. Somebody was texting me, and then I had a chance for him to critique my work. And one of the, I go through episodes of being nihilist for sure. Just so you know, I'm an artist. I'm a human. I give up. You all will give up, especially when you have highs as high as we get. We get high as fuck. We've done some shit that no other people have fucking done in our city. We have gotten high, And so when you get that high, you'll go low. And so I asked him a question. I was like, fucking, does any of this matter? Because I was showing him murals of like Believe mural and Open Your Eyes mural and Conscious Community mural that I did. And fucking, this love mural. And I was asking him like, dog, do you think that this is getting in their head? Because I was doing it in the hood. Like you said, the question of the Band-Aid. I asked him that in that critique. It's so funny you brought this up. Just answer the question, twerp. Fucking, I'm answering it complexly, articulately.
We've
And
got 10 minutes.
but look,
We got 10 minutes. So
yeah, and I
let's.
think we've done great already. And so, like, fucking, my point about Emory Douglas is said yes. His answer was yes. Your work does fucking matter. And yes, it is getting in people's heads. And so all I can do is take what people tell me. Do I know? No, I don't know. I don't know if this shit helps anybody. I don't know if this shit's real. But
Well, the question is, did it help you, and is it real to you?
yeah, it's real. You asked me earlier, would you do it again after you heard some of the hardest shit I went through? I said yes, without in a heartbeat. Like, this is the life that I chose, and I think everybody should be excited about the shit that they're serious about. If you're serious about it,
Well, I always thought,
hold hard.
I think it's pretty brave and serious of writers when they, go paint trains and heavens and rooftops. I think that is an extraordinarily brave statement to make, and that's at times life or death risk or arrest. We've all been there, and it's a pretty serious business to be in the graffiti game.
And like I said, thank you, Mayor, for, like, your early burners, your letter structures that were inspired by your elders, and that you, like, I imagine this little want inside of me that I talked about in the beginning of this interview of wanting to prove and give back to my elders. Mm-hmm. I imagine you experienced that as a young person. Like, I mean, I would love to ask that question. Like, why the fuck did you go to the yards?
You still look, again, I think this is all tied to what you were saying earlier, right? About identity and being recognized and socially accepted. But at the same time, it's about having the anonymity in a way that most people don't have the privilege to have. And that's why it's curious to me that you kind of play both sides of the fence. There's a part of you that's really anonymous and a part that's really outspoken, right? And a critical thinker. And so to me, I think there's a balance in that, right? That as you get older, you're going to try to figure out both socially and professionally, right? Because it looks like your trajectory is to get into the arts, right? But also that you are defending a culture through advocacy and education, right? And so that part of it, that's the part that is really interesting to me, because I feel this incredible energy and rage against the system, and this kind of like, I want my name everywhere. I want you to know that I was here, that I existed. But it's more than that. It seems like you want to help other people learn to exist as well.
Yeah, again, one of my early questions was, what is the, so there was a great thinker named Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan wrote, "The medium is the message." And
yes,
what is the message of graffiti? What is the medium of graffiti? And okay, we'll say the medium is paint on walls, right? Back to connotation and denotation, because the denotation would be the medium, and then the connotation would be the message. What is the message?
And the act would be what? The annotation.
Very interesting. I haven't even played with annotations. I like that.
Annotation?
I like that. No, I mean, we annotate everything, right? But I like that. I've never actually added annotations in. What is the message of graffiti? I think existence. It doesn't get much more pure than I was here. It doesn't exist. What else is there? I exist. I fucking was here. I did it. I passed it. I bombed it. What's up, Scheme? Me and Scheme are cool. Fucking, you know what I mean? I was there. I bombed it. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, let me pose this to you, because the word that people like to use often about bombing on the streets is the ephemerality of it. Yeah, you bombed it. 1 million people bombed it. Then it's gone. And then what, right?
And then you lived, bro. You lived. You lived.
Okay.
You were there. Mayor matters. Fuck you.
No,
Mayor
I'm
matters.
talking about you, right? I'm talking about like Zeb, you got up, you bombed, and then what
Hi, Mom.
what seems logical is that you extend that legacy through this other work that you do, right? In terms of teaching and of course doing galleries, etc. Because there's a
It's
point,
a
you know.
thin line. Now, look, I'm giving you the hardcore tonight, but it's a thin line. If I were teaching, and I've taught youth, I've taught
Yeah.
adults. I've taught youth while I was an adult. I've taught youth while I was a youth. I've taught adults while I was a youth. I've taught adults while I was an adult. And there's a thin line. Whenever it's a youth, you fucking be a mature individual and don't you dare tell them to go break the law. With that said, you know, if they're showing you their flick books when they come to your classroom, you tell them be careful. I mean, you don't go and tell kids, go break the law. Like, that's how you go to jail, to be a fucking mad person. And then there's no philosophical, you know, there's no art museum that could save me. I mean, maybe there will be, but, you know, I'm not trying to fucking...
I'm a terrible person because I've told quite a few kids to go break the law.
Same here, man. Same here.
I mean, there's a balancing act, right?
And how about me? How about me when I was begging adults to take me when I was an underage?
I don't subscribe that this culture should be all legal or commercialized. I think that has to exist across the board. And that's why I find you very interesting, because you're kind of trying to traverse two sides of the coin, right? And you established this reputation throughout the graffiti scene in the U.S. And not only that, but you established a reputation, publicly, because your defiance got you in trouble publicly, with the case. And that says a lot. That says a lot about commitment. That says a lot about society and how they're viewing you. And whether you like it or not, Zeb, you're kind of like, again, you're playing both sides of the fence.
And yeah, that could sound like somebody who says, like, you know what happens when you have your head in your sand or your head up your ass, or you're going to fucking fall, right? You're going to be on one side. But I like to play things difficultly. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not fucking difficult, then what are we doing it for? It's easy to sit around bed all day. This goes into the first fucking class, the first assignment you should ever get in a philosophical class, which is Plato's Cave. And I say this for the audience. Plato's Cave is the idea that we're actually inside of a cave right now. And this is not the real world. And if you want to see the real light, if you want to see the actual sun, you have to do your fucking homework. You have to do the hard work. You have to climb out of the ugly, spiky dungeon fucking to get out. Like, break the locks, break the keys, break the chains. And then you will get out of the cave and you will see the real light. You might get blinded. But the people who kept you in that cave, those are the people who are enemies. And so, again, what is that cave? Okay, maybe we're not in a cave, right? But this is still an important concept. This concept means do the hard work to become somebody, to see the light, to do it. You have to work. You have to do homework. Homework is just like a workout. If you don't fucking work out, you're not going to get the muscles. You can't pay somebody else to fucking do your workout. You're not going to get muscles. And so same thing with bombing, same thing with your art, same thing with being a writer, same thing with being a fucking thinker, a human. You do the work to clean up your house,
What I'm going to add to that, because you bring up something a lot of artists in the culture talk about, and that's muscle memory. And there's just this kind of intuitive reaction that writers have on objects, on the city, on the world around them, where they want to see themselves on it. And you like I said, you've done a lot of that, and you've come from a terrific background of Chicago. Chicago's great graffiti scene, and that's, you know, people should also recognize that, you know, Chicago has had a writing history since the 60s, if not longer, going back into time. But you're pulling it forward, which I like, right? I like the fact that you're trying to pull it forward, both from the streets, but also into fine art. So we're coming on our last minute. So I want to, on behalf of the museum, thank you for taking the time to talk with me. Thank you for the time earlier. We had a great conversation earlier today too, man. I appreciate you sharing. And I appreciate your talent and the work that you're trying to do. And mad props to Chicago. So if you want to give some shout outs to Chi-Town, the floor is yours.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, fucking, again, the Ravens, the Zords, the tricksters from the fucking Feds crew, the fucking ABC crew that broke into the fucking O'Hare yards to fucking, you know, make newspapers, fucking follow them. The fucking Fact, who fucking destroys train lines and fucking highways till this day without allowing the buff to stop them. Chicago was, you know, a different city because our shit will get cleaned in 2 days. And that means if you're up, you're fucking rocking every 2 days. You know, you're not just a writer. You're rocking every night, most likely, and you're doing multiple films a night. And you know how much fucking paint that takes? You know, like, if you're going to be, like, out there, dog, like, you know, who else is out there? Fucking, again, thank you, Temper, for fucking initiating me at such a hard level. What's up, STEM? What's up, Web in New York City? YNN crew, what's going on out there? Fucking, what's up with fucking everybody
Some good names out there.
Everybody who loves me, thank you. You know what I'm saying? Because I love you, and the shit is fucking hard out here. You know, thank you to my mom, fucking fighting all the fucking heavy duty shit that they bring towards us for nothing.
You mentioned, was she on the check-in this evening?
Yeah, she checked in real quick.
She's gonna wash your mouth later, brother.
Nah, she lets me curse because she loves me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know there's old school ways and all, but my mom's not fucking traditional, yo. You know what I mean? You can't be traditional when the traditions have been twisted on us. You know, you could love tradition, but, you know, you could try tradition, you could change tradition. And so I guess that was kind of like a question too, but I would just say, like, actually, it maybe wasn't a question, but I'll just say, like, what is the future of graffiti? You better know it's what you do. The future of graffiti is whatever you'll do. And I could give an example. I think the future of graffiti will include the fucking MBA of graffiti. I'll speak it into existence. There needs to be an MBA of graffiti of hardcore bombers that are paid to bomb harder. Yeah. You know, people who are sponsored by companies, because we need to understand that, you know, this shit is not a real criminal act. This shit is not a real damage of property. Damage of property means the property no longer work. The train can no longer work. The train works perfectly. So ideally, somebody out there is going to sponsor me and be like, yo, fucking here's 50 million. Or, okay, let's start with like 80,000 a year. I'll leave my job. You give me 80,000 a year, I will bomb. I'll bomb your shit, like, let's say like 50% of the time, if you need something out of this.
Listen, my brother, you know, we created a culture, a movement, but we also created an industry. And so we have the means to make those ends. So I hope you do make those ends. And I'm about to sign out. So I want to thank you again, and mad props to you and respect to Chi-Town. I'm out this evening, and we'll catch up later, brother. Thank you.
Party on, Wayne.
Wayne loves.